All right, what's going on, everybody? It is 3 p.m. here in Chicago Central Time. I think it's GMT -6, I want to say, on a Saturday. It is a beautiful day here in Chicago. Hopefully, you guys are all doing well. We got a little bit of background noise in here today. Kids are watching High School Musical 3. We've had a little bit of a marathon today where we've watched all three this morning, 1, 2, and 3 in a row. So it'll be interesting to see what comes next if we go to Sharpay's Big Adventure or High School Musical the series, but we'll see. CV76 says, if you're looking for the Kofuzi tour review or Kofuzi Tube HD, you're in the wrong channel. Okay, that's pretty funny. How's everyone doing today? I just got a cup of coffee, having a little bit of a sleepy day today, but enjoying it, having a nice day. Actually, all four of us laid down on the couch for like a 2-minute period today, and I was like, this is what we bought this couch for. And then, but it was so short-lived. then everyone got too antsy and had to keep moving. Ahmet Yavuz Pekel says, hello, Kofuzi from Istanbul. What's going on? Ricky Nip says, beautiful day in Tennessee. Got a nice 5-mile run in this morning. That's awesome. Sean McCabe says, hey, Kofuzi, at what miles do you take gels in a marathon? That's a good question. I usually take them every 5 miles. So I'll bring like 4 or 5 gels with me. So I'll take one at 5, 10, 15, 20. And then I know I don't need one at 25, but sometimes like at 20, everything's starting to kind of fall apart a little bit. So then I might take another one at my mile like 23, or maybe mile 24 or something like that. I think at that point, a lot of it's more mental than it is anything. I just kind of like to have it there. I don't think that like physiologically it's doing a ton, but I just feel like, it's a signal to your body saying like more sugar, more energy's coming. You got more in the tank. We're putting more in it. So you get a little something to get you to the finish line. So that's my general strategy on it. Kiefer Vacation says, baby, if you want it, you can have it. Oh my God, just made a new playlist. All right, Daniel M says, what's up, everybody? Just made coffee as well. Gonna go for a run soon. Awesome. And this morning, it was really, really cold. In Chicago, it was in the 30s with wind chills, making it feel a lot colder than that. I had my winter mittens on, and even then, my hands were really cold by the end. So I knew it was going to be cold, but I was surprised at just how cold it felt. And I know part of it's like I'm no longer acclimated to like freezing temps, but it was cold this morning. But now it's like almost balmy outside. So we might try and take the girls out for a walk. It doesn't look like there's too many people out right now, so it could be a good time, relatively safe time for us to take the girls out for a little bike ride. SJ Runs, what's going on? Coming in from New Jersey. Patrick Bong from Canada, Sherwood Park. I'm getting into running these days and love the shoe reviews. That's awesome, Patrick. Glad to hear you're getting into running, and thanks for coming to hang out. M. Bryoscafol, M. Sukaful says, hello, just got my first running watch, Coros Apex. Super excited to test it out. Yeah, awesome. Coros is a brand that I have not tested any of their watches yet. So something that's been like on my list to check out. Ken Pfaff is coming in from Chile, New York, says hello. Awesome, Ken. I know it's cold over there too. Yeah, it's a strange time in the United States with all the weather that we're having. Antonio Corigliano says, bye from Milano. See you later, Antonio. Good to see you. Motivation Theory Running's here. Hey, man, everyone. Hey, everyone, he says. And Adam Anderson says, hey, listening before I head into work. Awesome. Very cool. Guillermo Munoz says, even on the weekend, that is commitment. Cheers from Boston. What's going on, Guillermo? Daniel M is an ATX in the sun. Very cool. Ooh, sorry about that. Yeah, my hair is getting very long today, and it's getting in my face. After I took a shower today, I just kind of like brushed it a little bit. I didn't really do my hair, but I didn't want to put like a hat like right back on right away. I'm just kind of getting really tired of like always wearing a hat. But we'll see how I feel about it, because a lot of times when the hair like just gets to this length, it's always like in my way, and I get just like it makes me like kind of low grade grumpy whenever the hair gets to kind of like this length. So we'll see how I can handle it for the rest of the live stream for today. Dan Cash says, just running in the heat for heat training. All right, very cool. And this Dunbar's coming in, says, hi, Kofuzi, top of the day. Does Kofuzi get enough sleep? Discuss. No. Yeah, that's true. That's a short discussion. I don't get enough sleep. But something that I didn't probably mention enough in that video is that I do like accidentally fall asleep and kind of take naps. So I don't like go to the bedroom and like take a nap for like 30 minutes or an hour or whatever. Um, but yeah, I will like fall asleep. Like today after breakfast, everyone was kind of like real lazy today, and I was extra tired this morning, so I just kind of fell asleep maybe like 20 minutes. So I'll kind of do that. I'm one of those people though at this point that like, I'm kind of like my father-in-law in that regard, where if you leave us alone in a chair for long enough, we'll be asleep. So can't I usually don't like to sit down too much. Drew, son of Morris, says, "Did you get any snow in Chicago today? I woke up to a covering in May." No, we didn't get any snow today, but there was frost on the cars this morning, and I was worried that there might be some slick conditions out there because Chicago can normally handle itself in the wintertime when there's ice, snow, slush. But the only reason why it can handle itself and other cities can't, even though they might have only like an inch of snow, is because they're not preparing, they're not salting, they're not plowing, they're not doing all those things. And right now, it's not like salt trucks are out, so I was worried that it might be real slick out there, but it was fine. Just a little bit of frost on the cars, and then just cold, really cold. Um, David Borg says hello from Brussels, just back from a 10K late night to avoid the crowds. Yeah, I've been all. Well, it's awesome that you got your 10K in, but I've also been trying to run to avoid people as well. Um, Amitaya Vuz Piquel says, "What is your preference for a Nike? Vomero over Pegasuses? I like the Pegasuses way more than the Vomero." Top Duck 414 says, "Went back to watch your Disney cruise review, and it brought back memories of the Disney cruise that my wife and I went on. It was very fun, even without having kids." Yeah, my wife and I, that was a long video too. That Disney cruise video that I made, instead of making multiple little videos, I made one 50-minute video. That was real long. And I did make a couple of videos though, because I made like a video about the race, I think, as well. But that was a fun cruise. My wife and I were just talking about it, and we were like, when do you think you'd ever be comfortable going back on a cruise ship? I mean, even though like Disney does things really well and they're very careful because I mean they're dealing with children, or primarily, and so like they have to be very mindful of lots of things, especially germ wise. But I'm like, I don't know when I'd feel comfortable being on a ship again. But we miss it because we had a really good time. But then we were thinking like, you know what? Rather than go on a cruise ship, I'd rather like go to a Disney like resort, like there's one in Hawaii. I'd love to do that. Like, cause then like, yeah, you're getting on a plane, but I have to fly to Florida anyway to get on a Disney cruise. So we get on a plane and then you're just at a hotel. You're still in, confined spaces and stuff, and there are risks. Like it's hard to imagine doing that now, but I could see myself going on a trip to a hotel, like a resort, before I go on a cruise ship, I think. Roy Garcia says, "Yo, what's going on?" Soul Child says, "Are the non-elite products available for Canadians?" Yes, I believe so. So I think the only thing that's not available might be the foam roller pillow. Not really a foam roller pillow. I think that one's not available for worldwide shipping. Everything else, I think that like for North America, there are a couple of facilities that they print on demand from, and then in the EU, there's one or two places that they print from, and then beyond EU, I'm not exactly sure how far that they ship. Jen from Moss says, "Happy Saturday. Woo, that was a windy run in Ann Arbor as well. Ears were cold, even covered." Yeah, I had a winter cap on and a buff neck gaiter on. And so, like, only like this much is showing. And my head wasn't cold, but the rest of my body was still cold. But my ears weren't cold so I was feeling good about that. But like, hands were chilly. Edgar Buezo says, "Hello from East Harlem, New York City, sending you positive vibes." Well, I thank you. I appreciate that, Edgar. Daniel M says, "Kofuzi does not get enough sleep, but do any of us?" Yeah, I think that, like, I mean, most people don't. I think there's probably like a handful of people in the world that get enough sleep. Like Rich Roll is probably like one of them. And then maybe like three other people, and they're all probably yogis. That'd be my guess. Um, Francesco De Cesare says, "Hi. What's going on, Francesco?" Richard Romero says, "Beautiful day today in Chicago at work by the window, watching people walking North Sheridan. Be safe." Yeah, I'm looking down at North Sheridan as well, and it looks relatively quiet. seeing just a handful of people. So that's good. Sometimes when I look out the window, it's just like a crowd of people. It looks like there's like a street festival going on because there's so many people out. I think what people tend to do is we're relatively close to the lake, and people want like a relatively like traffic free or easier area to walk in where there might not be as many like traffic lights or stops. And so they still instinctively head this way and think, well, maybe I can get near the lakefront path, even though you really can't. But they kind of come this way anyway because everyone's like kind of accustomed to that, and they'll just walk up and down this busy street. Um, but sometimes it just gets really congested, and I'm just like, you could easily make one of those clips that like the news cameras tend to capture of like, look at how many people are out. I think you could do that. Um, let's see. Sorry, I got lost in some of the comments here. Hi, do you guys in US must wear a mask when running or not? Here, runners and bikers don't need to. I don't think anywhere will tell you that you have to wear one when running. For most places, and it varies state by state, so it's a very like regional thing. The general guidance is you don't have to wear a mask if you are outside and can maintain social distance. The and I think is a really important part because sometimes you're outside and you cannot maintain social distance. Like, for example, if you're running down a sidewalk here and there are other pedestrians. So that's why I just always run with the mask on, just because sometimes people will come out from the corner or from outside a building, and I might not see them in time to wear one up. A lot of people have recommended just have something around that you can wear and pull up if you're passing someone. And I think that's what a lot of people that are running the trails do, especially on single track trails where there's not a lot of room to really spread out, or in a trail where the natural habitat is fragile and you don't want to start like expanding the trails and you want to stay on the track. um, in that situation I would have like a buff or something that I could cover myself as I pass people. That's what I would recommend and hope people do. I don't think everyone's doing that. um, and if that was the situation for me, I would try and go when those people weren't there or not go there. So that's kind of been my approach to it. I know a lot of people are handling it differently. A lot of people in rural areas that are running like country roads, or people that are in suburbia, where there aren't a lot of like pedestrians. Uh, I don't think that they need to wear a mask because they're just not running into other pedestrians or people. So that's kind of how it is here. Martin Lyons says, "Good evening from Germany." Awesome. Uh, JC8489 says, "Yo, missed you last couple of days. Good to be back." It's good to have you back, JC. RH says, "Will you buy the new Pegasus 37?" Yes. John Bryan says, "Hello, hello. Got done with my run before it got toasty. Got to run in 83 degrees Fahrenheit. And by my last leg, it was 90-degree Fahrenheit, which is cool for Arizona. That sounds really hot. Even if you might say it's cool, but that sounds hot." Patrick Fung says, "When my toes hurt from wearing a pair of running shoes, should I buy a half size up? Love the New Balance Rebel, but that toe box. Now it's my go-to walking shoe." I think that there's two answers. One answer could be like just yes. The other answer could be like you could, but then you're wearing a shoe that doesn't fit. Some shoes just have really tight toe boxes, like the Rincon. That's a shoe that has a really tight toe box. The Carbon X, very tight toe box. Vaporflies have very tight toe boxes. The Rebel, I'm trying to remember with the Rebel, I felt like it was snug because it's a faster shoe, but I don't think it was like one of the tightest that I had been in. I would say like the tightest shoes that I remember, and to the extent that I thought about potentially like getting a different size, would be like the Turbo One, the black one. Like there was something wrong with the sizing on that. And then the Odyssey React Flyknit 2. That seemed a little bit tight as well. But for the most part, I generally think of it as okay, if it's a tight toe box, this is what they intended. And either I like the shoe or I don't, So that's kind of like, a lot of people ask me, should I size up and stuff? I don't really size up. I might be lucky that I'm like very squarely in the middle of a size 9. I know some people might be like, if there were such thing as a quarter size, they might be like closer to a 9 than like an 8 3/4 than a 9, and so like it could really depend when you're getting a shoe if it feels big or it feels tight, that kind of thing. So um, it might work, it might help out if the toe box is too tight, but that's a little bit of a snugger fitting shoe. David Borg says, "Have found that the medium length hair difficult to either grow it long or shave it, are my feelings generally." Yes. That's kinda how I feel too. I don't I had my hair relatively long about a year ago, maybe 2 years ago, to the point that I could put it up into, like, a ponytail. It just didn't look great on me, it looked really weird. So, like, it getting this long, there's, like, no it doesn't get any better, it just gets longer. The Spamman says, "Napping means I'm old." It could very well be, but I enjoy napping quite a bit. J Mike Remy says, "Nothing makes you feel more like a boss than knocking out a run in nasty weather." That's for sure. Snow and slush in Massachusetts made for an epic run this morning. I mean, those are some fun conditions though. I like running in snow. Slush sometimes if I have good shoes on, but like snow, I just love running in snow. Dan Cash says, "Sleep." What is that? Gaseous Dave says, "Kiddo." Elliot says hi too, as does Gaseous Dave. Awesome. What's going on, Elliot? He says you look like Sumchin. That's funny. Um, Max Fung, why do you run? Why do I run? Because it's awesome. It's Diso Hala. Good afternoon. What's going on, dude? Spamman says Disney Cruise would be a bad idea. It would be a bad idea now, for sure. For sure. Mootopia says, Aloha from Hawaii. Really appreciate the videos, especially the Maffetone journey. That's awesome. I hear Hawaii is getting hit pretty hard because there's like no tourism right now. So hope you guys are doing okay over there. Soul Child says, "What's your coffee of choice?" Right now, I'm drinking pre-ground coffee from Gerbs, which is a company that my wife uses. Everything that they do is in a peanut-free facility, so they don't have any peanut products at all. They don't have any peanuts that come into any of their mills, production facilities whatsoever. And so right now, I think I think we're doing Honduran coffee right now. I like Central American, South American, generally Central American. Flavor is usually pretty straightforward, pretty clean, not too complicated. I don't get complicated coffees. That I think the flavor is just lost on me. So that's what I like right now. But for if I were to pick, I would probably pick something Latin American, Central American. But I'm usually not that picky. If it's hot and the caffeine content is strong, I'll be pretty happy. Um, Yeah, SJ Run says, "Have you ever had a situation where you were on one of your runs and your contact lens was acting up or even possibly lost one?" Yes, I've had some weird contact situations. One time I was running along the lakefront, and in June it gets pretty buggy out there because that's when a lot of bugs tend to hatch, and it's by water. And depending on the wave situation, it could get some significant amounts of standing water. Um, And one time I was just running and you could see them, and you could see like a cloud of like gnats or these like just these little tiny bugs that look like little specks. And sometimes when I come back from a run, I'll have them like if I don't have a shirt on for the run, they'll just be speckled. Or I'll have like black freckles all over like my chest because those bugs will just stick to you and you're sticky because of the sweat. And it just gets pretty gross. One time I was running and one of them got in my eye. It got into my contact, and then I was like, "Oh, what is that? That's gross." And I kept rubbing it, and then I realized it was behind my contact. So, like, I'm running like this, and the thing is still moving around and trying to get out, and it's between my eyeball and my contact lens. So I stop the run, I have to take it out while I'm running. I, like, flick the bug out, and then I think I put the contact lens in my mouth just to get some saliva on it to like rinse the bug out, I guess. And then I put it back in. But that was gross. So I've had stuff like that. I've had times where like I just my eye was irritated. I rubbed my eye and then it fell out. And I've had that happen before too. So I've run through it. I've not run through, but I've encountered pretty much it all when it comes to contact lens problems. Um, Spamman says it's not crowded here in the burbs like in the city. Yeah, I've been hearing a couple of things. I think there was like a New York Times article, Lindsay Krause either wrote one or retweeted one about how like everyone in New York is like looking for houses to buy in the suburbs right now, because everyone's like, yeah, this small apartment, this little pied a terre was so fancy and nice to have our kids go to fancy private schools in when we were in Manhattan and everything was awesome, but now it's not so awesome to be in such a congested place. And so people are looking for like escapes. So there's an article about it already in the New York Times. And then I was also hearing some of my wife's family is in the real estate business, and they were saying that like everything that's on the far end of all the Chicago commuter trains, those areas are like there's just flurries of activity right now. So it's like definitely like everyone's trying to buy up. What's like the last stop on all the commuter lines, and people are buying houses out there. So yeah. Um, but I think like suburbia, it's nice because then like you could still like keep your job and work from home or work from wherever you are. Then, but also you have more space. You have potentially a backyard for your kids to run around in, or at least a neighborhood. Like I keep hearing, I listen to Lindsay Hines' podcast, and she keeps saying how like in their neighborhood, all the houses are set back, so people are just sitting on the porches and like waving at their neighbors as they go by and like saying hi to people and stuff. Or if you go for a run in the neighborhood, you like see all the neighbors, and I'm like, hmm, that seems kind of nice. I don't really want to live in suburbia. It's fine for people, but I think I grew up in suburbia. I grew up in New Jersey, so I don't really like it. I don't want to live like that. So, but like right now, it sounds pretty good. Brandon Wee says, "Hello from Singapore. Do you have any shoe advice for someone with mild plantar fasciitis?" I don't know how to answer that question. I never had plantar fasciitis, and I'm not sure if the shoe is necessarily like the fix. I've seen like Seth James Damore. I would go check out his channel. He's made a whole bunch of videos about plantar fasciitis because he's been battling it. And I know that the main thing for him is he uses one of those. It looks kind of like, this is my selfie stick, but he has like a roller that looks like this, and it's all nubby, and he rubs it on the arch of his foot. I have a little ball thing that's nubby that I put on the arch of my foot from time to time as well, just when the foot, like the arch is sore. But he rubs it on that, and he does other exercises like with his foot, as if this pretend this is a foot, that he does for his plantar fasciitis. He's done some taping as well, to try to help his foot, but I'm not sure how effective that is. I'm not sure. Um, Carlos PR says, "Hey Kofuzi, you should see today's Seth video. He talks about his approach to HR training. I know you're balls deep in low HR training, but he have a good talk about this topic. I'll take a look at it. But I mean, I've heard his thoughts on Mapatone before, and I read the Running with the Buffaloes book, and that was his coach at Colorado, and so I have an idea of like, what his thoughts are on it. Um, so I'll check it out. But it's I think that like just having not seen whatever he's going to say, I think that for someone that can run like a 12-mile run at 8:30, 8 minute 30-second miles at 110 beats per minute, for that person, low heart rate training would make no sense. Have you seen his Strava? Like if you look at his Strava and look at when he does his steezy runs, where he's running like 8 minute 30 seconds per mile, which is 3 minutes a mile slower than his marathon pace, I think. Um, and if you look at that, or if he's running like 8 minutes or 7:30, like in that range, he's not breaking 120 for his heart rate if he's on something flat. And he lives at somewhat of an elevation. He doesn't live at like 9,000 feet, but he lives in Colorado. He doesn't live at zero. So, I mean, that's where like that HR information is coming from. I anticipate that naturally he's always had a giant aerobic engine. And so like there's never been a need for him to get down into low heart rate training, because he's quite gifted and he's been working his butt off his entire life. Cassius Dave, do the Asics Nova Blast and Meta Racers fit about the same? No. They're fit very different. The Nova Blast video is coming out tomorrow. I'll talk about it, but to answer your question very directly, the Meta Racer feels like a racing flat. It feels snug. The Nova Blast feels like it's almost too big. So they're very, very different. But I got the same size in both. But I will definitely check out Seth's video today. When trying to increase mileage, do you get the same benefit for running doubles versus one long run each week? No, you do not. So, I mean, yeah, so like running doubles is usually there might be two reasons why you run doubles. One could be because you're doing a bunch of speed work, and in order to get in all your speed workouts and all your mileage for the week, you need to run twice in a day sometimes. For most people that run doubles, like when I run doubles, it's because I don't have time to run one long run in the day. On days when I would run like 13 to 15 miles in a day, it was usually because I was doing it like Monday through Fridays. It's usually because I was running doubles. If I could, I'd rather just get up in the morning, run 13 miles, and be done with my running for the day. I think that's better for the aerobic challenge of it. Um, but I don't have time for that, so that's why I do it. Spamman says, if you're barefoot running, there is no toe box. That's true. There's also no outsole or cushion either. But some people, they love it. There's a guy out here, Matty O'Brien, who runs barefoot for a lot of the years, and other times he wears those things that's basically like a strap of leather, and it looks like you're wearing like one of those like Roman gladiator sandals. He runs in those too. Pretty impressive. Um, he says the only time it's a problem is when there's a lot of salt on the trail, because then like the salt, like it just eats your feet. Um, Brian Gennaro says, "What has more cushion, the Fuel Cell Rebel or the Rincon?" I'll say the Rincon has more cushion. All right, Spamman's is heading out. He's gonna mow the lawn. Awesome. See you later, dude. Jeremy Sean A says, "Want to get into running? Is a new Pegasus a good choice to start with?" I haven't run in the new Pegasus yet, but I have a feeling that the answer is yes. Amit Tayavuz, Amit Yavuz Pakel says, "What's my favorite 10K shoe?" That's a good question. I might say the Zoom Streak 7 is pretty high up there. I really enjoy that shoe a lot, and that I think would be a great shoe for the 10K. Um, yeah, I'll probably say that one. Mikhail Kiyoki says, "Greetings from Germany." Awesome. Jeremy Sean A says, "Any tips for a beginner?" I would say don't worry about distance in the beginning, worry about time, and try to run. I always say run today so you can run tomorrow. So don't ever kill yourself on any one day. You want to work on developing a habit. Stevie76 says, swallowing bugs on a run, does that count as nutrition? I don't think so. Not the size of those bugs. And it's just so gross whenever you do that. Antoine says, "Hi, do you have a recovery drink after easy runs?" Usually not. I might try to eat something, get some food in me, but I usually don't have a recovery drink. Sometimes I might have like a protein shake. If it's a harder run, then that's when I usually want to try to make sure I do something. But a lot of times after a run, sometimes I forget to even drink water. And then like I'll hop in the shower, gotta get walking the dog, get the girls ready for school, and then before you know it, it's been 2 hours, and all I've had since my run is coffee. Sometimes it happens, but I don't recommend that. But that's something that happens. Um, Luis Becerra says, "Yo, a bit late, but here we are. What's going on? Hey, good to see you, Luis or Luis." JC says, "Great weather in Texas this morning. Unofficial 5 mile PR in the fuel cell row. Well, awesome." And he has it in the 2E width. Oh, I didn't know it came in widths, wide sizes. That's awesome. Mikhail from Germany asks, "What's my resting pulse actually?" I don't know. Right now it's 66. I would say like a true, like if you were to do like a resting pulse rate, which I always feel like is kind of like a like a it's a really a misleading term because it's not like a true depiction of like what happens like an average point of the day because you're supposed to do it like shortly after you wake up where your heart rate is naturally a little bit low. But I'd say it's probably around 60. Uh, Joel Sojan says, "Would you run the Peg 37 on a longer run?" Yeah, I think you could. I mean, I've taken Peg 30. I ran my first Chicago Marathon. I read it in Peg 34. It wasn't a great shoe for that, but I did it. And I've done 20-mile runs in Pegasus before too. It wouldn't be my first choice, but it's definitely doable. It's very capable of doing that. Narwhal Newman says, "Hi from Wales. Happy to catch a live show. Awesome. Good to see you here." And Brandon White says, "What's my fastest mile time?" I don't know. I think it's somewhere around 5:50. But I haven't run like an official mile. And what I really would love to do is to be able to run the Fifth Avenue mile in New York. And I want to be in a media heat. I want to get a whole bunch of YouTubers and see if like the race will give us a YouTubers heat or like a YouTube slash Instagrammers heat. Because they do one for like the reporters. Thing is, the reporters are all usually like former like pro or at least D1 athletes, so that's really fast heat. But I think it'd be funny if they had like YouTubers on there trying to race each other down Fifth Avenue for a mile. That would be fun. I don't think that'll ever happen, but I'm going to keep suggesting it and putting it out there into the universe, and maybe someday it'll happen. Jeremiah Johnson says, "Just got off of work, signed on. Awesome. Chilly run this morning in St. Louis for May 9th, but good running weather, really. Ran in a pair of Nike Peg Turbo, still one of the most comfortable shoes ever. It's a good pair of shoes. I do like it. Jan Polstra says, missed opportunity. That mug should have Kofuzi in it. That's funny. It's funny. It makes sense to me, and it's got like a little bit of dad joke flavor to it. So and maybe for the next maybe version 2. Natalie Calvano says, "What's the favorite daily training so far this year?" I think probably the Kinvara 11, but I don't think that it will be my favorite daily trainer by the end of the year because the Kinvara is good, but it's not my favorite. It's kind of just a very good shoe. I'm really looking forward to the Beacon 3. I'm really looking forward to Clifton 7. Looking forward to Peg 37. So like there's a lot of really strong entrants that have yet to enter the fray. So I think that's it's very early to kind of throw that gauntlet down. Narwhal Newman says, have you ever run a park run? Are you interested in doing one in the US or abroad? What's your 5K PB? The US doesn't have like Parkrun quite like you guys do over there in England, where it's a much more regular thing, and I think it's a beautiful concept. In Chicago, there is something that's developing that's very similar to that, and it's put on like by the Park District in association with running clubs, where like once a month there's a free 5K. It's like relatively informal, but they'll give you a time. They'll time you. I don't think it's like bib chip timed, but like it's a measured course, and you can run 5Ks. Great way for people that are like new to the sport to kind of try racing in an informal and non-intimidating way, hopefully. And so we have stuff like that, but like a lot of times we just have like 5Ks that are not like as well, they're as organized, but they're not like as connected as Parkrun. But we have like the similar idea, and the most common race distance is 5K, and so we have those. I'd love to do like parkrun, like the actual like parkrun thing in England. I'd love to be able to do that sometime. Um, but my 5K PB, like in high school, I think it was 1750 or 1850, one of those two. 1850 sounds more correct than 1750. So it's probably 1850. And then as an adult, my fastest time, and I haven't raced a 5K in a while, it was 1943, I think. So I'd like to get that down to whatever 6 minutes per mile pace is for a 5K. So I think that's like, 1830 or something like that. So I'd like to get into like the solid 18s. And I think I could do that with a couple of weeks of training. I think I could probably get there. What is that? Cece says, got a pair of Beacon 2s on Jackrabbit this week for $65. That's a great price. That's an amazing price. My buddy loves the Beacon 1, and he also loves the Ghost 11, and he has like alerts that he like Google alerts for any time prices go down on either of those shoes, and he just buys them up. John Bryan says, oh my, today I saw a huge snake and you were inches away because he was kicking it and got away from that big snake quick. Yeah. I saw today because it was chilly, that normal spot. Have I told you guys about this? I've been talking about it a lot on the morning podcast, that there is one spot where there's a pack of rats that hang. Is that what it's called? A group of rats is called a pack? Well, a pack of rats is kind of like hanging out, and they're there every day. And today, I think they were just normally, I feel like they're eating something or like they're doing something. They're occupying themselves with whatever it is that rats do. But today, I think they were just like huddling together for warmth, along with 3 pigeons. Because then I usually like run by the spot to flush them out. Normally, I feel like that's a pretty rude thing to do to animals, but they're rats, and so I don't. It doesn't bother me as much. But I was running by that spot to flush the rats out, and then 3 rats and 3 pigeons came out at the same time, and so it definitely scared me. I was like, "Whoa, I got more than I was bargaining for in that one." So I definitely got a little bit scared there. But that happened today. Uh, if I saw a snake in Chicago, I would freak out. But even if I saw one on a trail, I'd be like, I get nervous around sticks when I'm running in the woods, just because I'm like, what if it's just playing stick and it's waiting for me to get close so it can bite me? That's how I think about snakes, as we've established in many other of these live streams as well. I'm terrified of animals and wildlife. Joel Sojan says, I'm more of a 4-foot striker and prefer high drop shoes for running long distance. Any tips on what beginning Hoka shoe would benefit me most? Um, I would, if you're a 4-foot striker and want a higher drop shoe, what's the heel drop on the Rincon? Anybody know offhand? I think that might be a good one for you, or the Clifton. I think the Clifton's like is the Clifton like an 8 millimeter? Or it's not a 4. I don't think it's a 4. So maybe I would look at those to see how those do, assuming you're talking about running on roads. So those are two that I would look at. The Carbon X, I think, is a 10 millimeter heel drop shoe. It's a carbon plated shoe, a little bit expensive for a trainer, but like I've been really liking it um, as a like a longer, faster day shoe. Tempo runs, longer intervals, things like that. I've been liking that one too. That one fits very snug in a toe box though. Luke and G says, Luke Eng, I'm not sure how to say that. I always have a hard time pronouncing it. Luke says, I've been doing half marathons for long runs. What gels would you recommend? I like Unived gels a lot, especially in the wintertime when I don't have water fountains accessible to me because they're a little bit more liquidy. And so I feel like I'm getting a little bit of hydration with it as well. But those are good. I like Chia, like Huma Chia Plus, and I also like Cliff Shots because those are pretty cheap. Goos are pretty good too. Goos tend to be the most pasty of all the because they're goo. I mean, I think that's what they're going for, but it's the most pasty of all the gels. So some people have a hard time eating them without water. And so, like, that's something else you have to think about too right now. If you're don't have access to water on your route, or you're not bringing it with you, how thick is it? If you need something that's a little bit thinner, Martin gels are very easy to take down without liquid, although they're pretty expensive. Science and Sport, I think, is a good compromise. Also, a very liquidy gel, but those I like those as well, and a lot more volume in there, so it kind of gets you hydrated a little bit as well. Daniel M says the Peg 34 is favorite all-time running shoe so far. The 34 was a good year. I think the 33 might have been a little bit of a better year. The 34 was very good as well. The 35 was good. I don't think as good as the 36 personally. I like the 36 a lot, and we'll see how the 37 was. Stevie76 says Jamie running the mile would be funny. I mean, here's the thing. He always messes around so much, but I think if he ran the mile, he'd be really fast at it. I don't remember what he ran in high school or college. Um, I don't know if he ran in college or not, but I know he ran in high school and he was a shorter. I think he was a middle distance runner, or if not a sprinter. I don't think like 200s and 100s, but I think I think Jamie's faster than he wants to let on. But like, can you imagine if we were able to get like a heat of like, you mean just of just the like American YouTubers? If like it was me, Thomas, maybe we get Normcore runner in there, Jamie. You get Seth. I mean, if Seth came, it wouldn't be fair because he would just win. Um, but Seth, if you got Jordan Thomas in there, he'd be pretty fast too. I think that'd actually be a pretty good event to watch. Jordan Thomas versus Seth. I'm not sure who would win. Jordan Thomas has been working on his mile time a lot, so he's been pretty fast. Let's get Emily Heller in there too, because why mix it up, men and women? Just make it a media heat. See, I think we could put together a pretty solid heat. I think that'd be fun. And then if you get Instagrammers in there, we can get lots of really fast people as well. So like that'd be pretty fun. Anyone know anyone that works with the Fifth Avenue Mile? Let's make it happen. Let's start putting it out there. um, let's see. Sebastian Barahona says, Kofuzi, gonna throw a tough one at you. Best versatile trainer that can handle most of your runs. Need of a trainer with a tight budget. Thanks. I would say a trainer that can handle most of my runs. I think it would also depend on what your terrain is. If you have a situation where like you're doing some grassy stuff too and maybe getting off road a little bit, I think that the Terra Kiger or the Peg 36 trails are a really good option for you. They can do a lot. They can handle like dirt gravel roads. They can handle roads. They can handle grassy surfaces and even a little bit muddy, not really technical trails, but like certainly some trails. And they're a lot of fun. They can go fast, they can go slow, they can go long. Those would be probably pretty high on my list. I would say the Clifton 6 is also a pretty good one that could handle pretty much all of that stuff as well because it's got such deep grooves in the outsole pattern that it can do a lot of that as well. The Rincon, maybe you could put in that from Hoka as well, but like it's so tight in the toe box. I don't think I'd want to run like an easy 20 miler. I mean, not that easy and 20 miler go together, but like your easy long run, I don't know that I'd want to do that for it. Um, and then, I think that like the Kinvara 11 is also one that the Kinvara 11 is like a true duck. I wouldn't pick the Kinvara 11 for any one type of running, but it's pretty high on the list for a lot of types of running. So that's like another one that I think is really a versatile shoe. John Bryan says he uses the beacons for slow, quick, slowish runs. That sounds funny. But yeah, the reason why I didn't put beacons in that list though is because of the fact that the outsole is so like it's not slick, but it doesn't strike me as being particularly like grippy if conditions get a little bit sloppy. So that's the reason why I wouldn't if you're only looking at one shoe. But if you can get it from Jackrabbit like that other person that got it for $65, that's certainly a good budget option. Simon says, "What do you do if you get a side stitch?" For me, what I tend to do is I exhale really like full. I try to exhale fully. A lot of times I feel like when I get a stitch, it's because I'm almost like hyperventilating. I'm taking too shallow breaths. So I like make sure I'm like pushing out all the air, like fully getting it out there. Sometimes I'll talk to myself because I notice that like on my long runs, I very rarely I'm a chatty runner and I don't usually get a cramp or a side stitch if I'm in the middle of a conversation. So I like pretend to like talk to myself or like I will on my exhales, I'll like kind of like ha ha and like kind of like hum on the way out. I think there's just you're activating the diaphragm in a different way, I think. And that works for me. It might not work for everyone. Jamie would just run the 400 meters backwards. Yeah, he would. If Jamie were in a meeting he at the Fifth Avenue Mile, he would not run it seriously. Like that is like the exact time he wouldn't run seriously for sure. um, Joel Sojan says, when are we going to see a collab run with Jameis and Michael? As soon as I can, feel comfortable traveling again, I'm going to go back down there. I'll try to get him to come up somewhere and we'll meet up. I saw him recently, I guess, in Austin in February. It was. It seems like forever ago, but it really wasn't. But we met up then, the weekend of the Austin Marathon, coincidentally, because I was down there for work. But yeah, I was just messaging him the other day. I told him I missed him. Hopefully he's being safe. He's not being as safe as I would like him to be, it seems, but he's got to take care of himself his own way. Norwell Newman says there are official park runs in the U.S. and Canada. Oh, okay. Nearest to Chicago is Ottawa, Illinois. I might have to check that out. Like a park run, official like branded park run. That's cool. I definitely have to check that out. Because then they'll do. Are there like standings that you could see? You can compare to people. That'd be kind of fun. Because then I could like my name would show up in like all the parkrun searches that people are doing. And that'd be fun just to see how it stacks up. Let's see. Greg says Cara Go runs are free every weekend in various locations in Illinois based on the European model. That's right. That's the one it was. And Greg, thanks for coming in with the help there. There's one that's at, I think it's Humboldt Park around here. That's the closest one to me, which is not terribly far. I think, or is it Washington Park? That's where it was. Like, I think one of those two parks is where it was last year, and it was once a month. Martha says, I'm way late because I was giving a Zoom flute class for a colleague. That's awesome. She says, sorry, I had to miss this. That's cool, though. I didn't know you played the flute. That's awesome. SJ Run says, what's the favorite distance to run and why? I would say the half marathon. That's my favorite distance to race, and my favorite distance to run is probably like somewhere between 15 and 17 miles on the weekend. Because by the time you get to 20, then you're just like, oof, this is long. Unless you're doing something fun in the middle, like mile repeats or a fartlek or something else to like speed it up. But like just a run with a friend, like me and my running buddy, when we get together, we're usually like around 17 to 18. That's a good amount of time for us to hang out, catch up, and then go on a run, bring a couple of gels, maybe have a bathroom break somewhere in there, and then just hang out for the day. That's a pretty good distance for me to run like casually. It's a workout, I feel tired at the end for sure, but it feels good. So I like that. But for racing, I love racing the half marathon. It's an event that I feel like you could probably race like in earnest several times a year if you really wanted to, like really focus on getting good at it. It's one that you can make a lot of mistakes in from pacing and nutrition and still kind of get away with it. And it's one that you can kind of like, you have to be a little bit more disciplined and a little bit smarter to be able to run a good marathon. And I'm neither of those things when it comes to running. So the half marathon, I feel like you can still have a lot of fun even if you've done a really terrible job. Because if you like, blow up on a half marathon, you just end up like kind of like running slow on the way in. If you blow up on a marathon, you're just walking. You're like run walking and it's miserable and everyone's cheering for you and you're just like, sorry guys, and you're like limping in. That's not fun. So the marathon is more of a elusive goal to pursue, but the half marathon I think for me is much more fun. Um, let's see. Norwal Newman says, recently watched the Why I'm Vegetarian video. Is the info still up to date with that? Do you eat meat in social occasions? I'm thinking switching over myself. Yeah, I'll still eat meat. I mean, I'm pretty much a social carnivore. I follow more of what Michael Pollan says. Pretty much uh, everything and eat mostly plants, but everything in moderation kind of advice. I'm butchering his quote, but like I'm not like super restrictive about it. But anytime I can control it, I'll prefer to have vegetables. Occasionally, I have seafood, and I might choose to have seafood from time to time. But for the most part, it's vegetables, um, or not meat-based foods. But Thanksgiving, I'll have a little bit of turkey. And if I go to someone's house, I'll have some meat. Jeremiah Johnson says, and this will be the last question for the day, and then I gotta get going. Have you run the Big 10, 5 or 10K in Chicago? Do you like the courses? I'm not sure I do, but I do enjoy the atmosphere. Um, I have run the Big 10. I ran the 5K one year, and I had a lot of fun with it. And I didn't go to a Big 10 school, so I was kind of just like, enjoying and observing everyone else's like rivalries, and I thought that was pretty cool. It was a really high energy event. It tended to skew a little bit younger than most of the other races that I've been to, and there were a lot of people there because I feel like Chicago draws a lot of young professionals from Big Ten schools, which are generally like in the region, or it traditionally was. Now the Big Ten is like a nationwide conference almost, but a lot of those schools are from the region, and so a lot of people have affiliations with one of those schools. So it was a lot of runners. It was really fun to see. I ran the 5K and I had a really good time with it. It's a race that I would really like to run again. I'd like to run the 10K, or maybe I'll run the 5K again because I had so much fun with it the other time before. You run through downtown, so it's all roads, and your GPS is going to be a little bit wonky on it, but it's a fun event. I highly recommend it. So I had a good time, especially if you've gone to a Big Ten school. Then that makes it a lot more fun, I think. All right. Well, that's all I'm going to have for time for today, guys. Thanks so much for checking in. Hopefully, you guys are having a beautiful Saturday or had a beautiful Saturday. I'll be back on Instagram tomorrow, 6 o'clock in the morning, or back here on YouTube tomorrow at 3 p.m. Chicago time. In the meantime, hope you guys are out there getting your runs in and being safe. And I will see you guys in the next one. See you guys later.